that, aspirants? This is Seema Jhalani, your mentor from KYMS Academy, and I welcome you all once again to this platform of learning and knowledge. And as you all know, previous year questions, CAT 24 slot 3 series is going on, and we are already done with the 3 questions of para completion from verbal ability section. And today we are going to discuss the remaining 5 questions from the same section, that is verbal ability. So let's get started and together we make it happen. A beautiful and meaningful quote by Seneca. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. So basically, in this sentence, this quote tries to tell us that time is never too short to prepare for anything. It all depends upon us, whether we invest it or we waste it. So just focus on time management and do not let these instructions steal your purpose. Okay, so let's discuss the very first question. This question is on odd one out, and this is basically para jumble question, but we need not have to make the sequence. We just have to go for that sentence which is not the part of the paragraph. To create a synapse, the neuron has specialized structures, often seen as tiny swellings at its terminal end of the axon, where it stores the chemicals that are emitted to transmit a signal to the next neuron. So basically here in this line, the author is talking about the function of neuron and synapse. This fetal warm-up act, the soldering of neural connections before the eyes actually function, is crucial to the performance of the visual system. In this sentence, author is saying that certain fetal warm-up act is there, which is actually important to the performance of the visual system. Okay, but as you can see that this sentence starts with this. It means I need to have certain preceding statement before this particular sentence. The reasons for this paring back of synapses is a mystery, but synaptic pruning is thought to sharpen and reinforce the correct synapses by removing the weak and unnecessary ones. It means here we are reducing those synapses which are unnecessary, not needed. Neural connections between the eyes and the brain are formed long before birth, establishing the wiring and the circuitry that allow a child to begin visualizing the world the minute she emerges from the womb. Now, in this sentence, author is talking about certain neural connections which are actually formed before the birth of the baby, so that जैसे ही वो baby world में आए तो इस world को वो देख सके. Clear? During this rehearsal period, now which rehearsal period are we talking about? Synapses, points of chemical connection between nerve cells, are generated in great excess only to be pruned back during later development. Now, in this sentence also, we are talking about the synaptic pruning. And what is the meaning of pruning? That we are decreasing something. So now, as you can see, after reading all these sentences, I can understand that 5 and 3, both these sentences are making the pair. Why? Because in these two sentences, we are basically pairing back the synapses. क्योंकि वो synapses extra थे तो उनको हम कम करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, right? So obviously, we are talking about the pairing of synapses in this sentence and the reasons for this pairing back. So obviously, 5 and 3 makes a short pair, right? So in 5, as you can see, this rehearsal period is given. Now, rehearsal period here means what? It stands for this fetal warm-up act. So before 5, I am going to keep 2. Okay, clear? So आप देख सकते हैं 2, 5 and 3. These 3 sentences, they are making a right sequence. Now we are left between 4 and 1. So if I read all the sentences, and the thing which I am getting is, basically here we are talking about certain neural connections which are important, so that the moment the child come out of the womb of the mother, he can see this beautiful world. Fine. So here in this sentence, we are talking about neural connection, some synapses, and the womb also. We are talking about the visualizing of the world by the baby. So this is going to be the first statement. And because we are talking about this particular thing, and for this reason, certain synapses are there, okay, which are actually generated in extra quantity. So it is very important that these should be reduced. And why? What are the reasons to reducing this thing? The reason is given in the third statement. Clear? So the complete sequence will be one. The complete sequence will be 4, 2, 5, and 3, and 1 is going to be odd one out because sentence 1 is only talking about the functions of the neuron and the synapse. Rest of the things they are talking about the fetal nervous system. Clear? So the right sequence is 4, 2, 5, 3, and 1 is odd one out. Second sentence. Part of the appeal of forecasting is not just that it seems to work, but that you don't seem to need specialized expertise to succeed at it. It means here the author is saying that experts are not needed to forecast anything. The tight connection between forecasting and building a model of the world helps explain why so much of the early interest in the idea come from the intelligence community. This was true even though the latter means if we are talking about two things, so out of the two, I am talking about the latter part, that is the second thing. Latter had access to classified intelligence. One frequently cited study found that accurate forecasters' predictions of geopolitical events, when aggregated using standard scientific methods, were more accurate than the forecast of members of the US intelligence community who answered the same questions in a confidential prediction market. So here we are talking about some study. So basically we can say it's an example. Some study was conducted, but why this study was conducted? So obviously there must be some sentence. Okay. The aggregated opinions of non-experts doing forecasting have proven to be a better guide to the future than the aggregated opinions of experts. So now from this sentence, I have got the idea that forecasting done by non-experts are more accurate than that of done by experts. Okay. So now the moment I read this sentence, obviously I'm going to go back to the first sentence because first sentence हमको यही बोल रहा है that experts are not needed to forecast. क्यों? Because even जो non experts होते हैं वो भी अच्छी forecast कर सकते हैं. Clear? So yes, I can take 5 as the part of the paragraph and I can even take 1 as the part of the paragraph. So 1 and 5, these are the part of the paragraph. Okay. Now, in fourth sentence, the author has given us the example to prove his point that is given in 5. And he is saying that उसने example किसका दिया है? Predictions of geopolitical events when aggregated using standard scientific methods were more accurate than the forecast of the members of US intelligence community. मतलब these people were more expert than these people, but फिर भी जो non experts थे उनका जो prediction था वो ज़्यादा accurate था rather than the expert ones. Clear? So again, this is going to be the part of the paragraph. This was true even though the letter had access to classified intelligence. Now you see, here the word letter is coming and letter here stands for forecast of members of the US intelligence community. Okay. अब इनके पास access था classified intelligence का, still उनका prediction was not that accurate than it was of the non-experts. So 4 and 3 actually makes a pair. All right. Now 4, 3 makes a pair. 1 is going to be the part of the paragraph. 5 is going to be the part of the paragraph. So why I am not taking 2 as the part of the paragraph? Because in this sentence, though the sentence is talking about the forecast, but author is only talking about the early interest in the idea that came from the intelligence community. So obviously this is going to be the odd one out and the rest 4 sentences are related to each other somehow. So what is going to be the first statement? First statement is going to be 1. After 1, it is going to be 5. After 5, it is going to be 4 and then 3. So 1, 5, 4, 3 is the right sequence and 2 is going to be odd one out. I hope this paragraph is clear. Now, let us move on to the para summary questions. Lyric poetry is a genre of private meditation rather than public commitment. The impulse in Marxism toward changing a society deemed unacceptable in its basic design would seem to replace demands of lyric poetry, that such poetry with its tendency toward the personal, the small scale, and the idiosyncratic could never answer. Now you see in this paragraph so far we have come across two main subjects. One is lyric poetry and second is Marxism. Now if you have little bit idea about Marxism, it is going to be easy for you to understand this paragraph. Okay, and beta yaad rakhiyega, Marxism जो theory है, I mean cat keeps asking this word, cat keeps asking this belief or theory. Okay, so you should have little idea about Marxism. Now in this three lines the author is saying that lyric poetry, it is basically personal. Okay, in short I can say that it is individualistic. Okay, and Marxism, as you know, he is a socialist, so basically he is more towards collectivism. So lyric poetry is personal, अपने बारे में सोचना, and Marxism is more of socialist. Okay, मतलब वो society के बारे में सोचते थे. They want to bring some change in society, basically जहाँ पर unfair system होता है, right? There is within Marxism, however, now again you can see this is however, it's a transition word. Okay, it means it's a change of tone. So before this sentence we were talking about the differences between lyric poetry and Marxism. And यहाँ पर उसने there is one more statement could never answer. It means lyric poetry कुछ में ऐसा कुछ है जो मार्क्सिज्म की थ्योरी को वो डेफिनेटली आंसर नहीं कर सकते बिकॉज दे बोथ आर अभी के लिए पोल्स अपार्ट. ओके, they both have different beliefs or ideologies. There is within Marxism, however, also a strand of thought that would locate in lyric poetry alternative modes of perception and description that call forth a vision of words at odds with the repressive reality or that draw attention to the workings of ideology within the hegemony culture. Now, what is hegemony culture? Basically, it means dominant culture. The poetic imagination may indeed reflect larger social concerns, but it may also be implicitly critical and utopian. Now, in the later part of the paragraph, basically here we are talking about the similarity, okay? Similarity between Marxism and lyric poetry. Now, and in this sentence, the author is saying that there is one thing where Marxism believe that, yes, lyric poetry has certain potential in order to challenge the dominant culture, okay? और उसके अंदर एक पोटेंशियल है, इट हैज डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव्स, डिफरेंट आइडियाज टू सी द सोसाइटी एंड इट कैन चैलेंज द डोमिनेंट कल्चर. Here author is saying the poetic imagination here stands for lyric poetry, that obviously it cannot serve the large political purpose. वो large political purpose को ना serve करे, लेकिन they have the, you know, they have this power to critically analyze the world and to make a better future. यूटोपियन का मीनिंग होता है इमेजिनरी वर्ल्ड. तो लिरिक पोइट्री में भी ये चीज होती है जहां पर वो सोसाइटी में कुछ भी अनफेयर चल रहा है तो उसको वो चेंज कर सके. तो बेसिकली यहाँ पर मार्क्सिज्म और लिरिक पोइट्री यहाँ पर सेम चले जाते हैं. सो इन द एंटायर पैराग्राफ बेसिकली वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द डिफरेंसेस एंड देन वी आर आल्सो टॉकिंग अबाउट द कॉमन प्लेटफॉर्म. ओके, सो नाउ लेट अस चेक आउट द ऑप्शंस. Marxism has internal contradictions due to which one strand of Marxism sees no merit in lyric poetry while another appreciates the alternative modes of perception in poetry. Okay, the very first thing that Marxism appreciates the alternative modes of perception in poetry, it is correct. But are we talking about certain internal contradictions which are going on? Obviously, there was no contradiction going on. Obviously, in Marxism, it just कि पहले वो दोनों अलग थे, but एक platform में जहाँ पर they both are common. All right, so this cannot be the answer because of the word internal contradiction. The focus of lyric poetry is largely personal, while that of Marxism is bringing change in society. So far it is good, it is going well, and it encapsulates the first three lines of the paragraph. Unless the difference is resolved, poetry will remain largely utopian. So now in the next part of the paragraph, we are talking about the similarity. Okay, but this line doesn't talk about the similarity, first thing. And the second thing is, here the author is saying unless the difference is resolved. Are we talking about any differences? Oh yes, maybe we are talking about the differences, but are we talking about the resolve of any differences? Of course not. We are not talking about that thing कि differences resolve हो जाएंगे या वो sort out हो जाएंगे. We are not talking about that thing. So this can be eliminated again. Marxism makes unreasonable demands on lyric poetry. However, lyric poetry has its own merits that are largely ignored by Marxism due to its personal nature. Now here you see the red flag is largely ignored. Obviously ऐसा नहीं है मार्क्सिज्म ने उसको बहुत ज्यादा इग्नोर किया है. No, in fact Marxism has taken into consideration the different perspectives of lyric poetry. तो largely तो definitely उसको ignore नहीं किया है. So this is also eliminated. So now as you can see, we have eliminated 1, 2 and 3. So what is left is our answer. So fourth is going to be the answer, but let me read this also. The focus of lyric poetry as personal may not seem compatible with Marxism. It is correct. However, it is possible to envisage lyric poetry as a symbol of resistance against an oppressive culture. Yes, this is also correct. क्यों ये correct क्यों है? क्योंकि in the later half of the paragraph, author is saying that it has the potential. It here stands for lyric poetry, that it has the potential to challenge the repressive reality and the dominant culture. Therefore, fourth is correct. Question 4. When the trad wife puts on that Georgic pinstrip dress, she is not just admiring the visual cues of a fantastical past. She takes these dreams of storybook bliss literally, tracing them backward in time until she reaches a logical conclusion that satisfies her. And by doing so, she ends up delivering an unhappy reminder of just how much our lives consist of artifice and play acting. The trade wife outrages people because of her deliberately regressive ideals. Regressive means old-fashioned. And yet her behavior is on some level yet indistinguishable from the non-trad wives. The trad wives' trollish genius is to beat us at our own dress-up game by insisting that the idyllic cottage daydream should be real right down to the primitive gender roles. She leaves others feeling hollow and cheated. The hullabaloo and headaches she causes may be the price we pay for taking too many things at face value. Our just desserts served Instagram perfect by a manicured hand on a gorgeous ceramic dish with fat, mouth-watering maraschino cherries on top. Now, beta, when I was reading this paragraph, I felt that there were lots of unnecessary details in this paragraph. So why to dwell on each and everything? Okay, हमें हर चीज पर क्यों इतना ज्यादा जाना है, right? अब हम इसमें से क्या करेंगे? We are going to strip away the unimportant elements. हमें उसकी जरूरत नहीं है. We are just trying to understand over here that basically what the author is trying to convey. We are simply trying to understand. Okay, now you see. When the trad wife is basically diminutive of traditional wife, puts on. She wears something. Okay, she wears what? Dress. Okay, she wears some traditional dress, right? She is not just admiring the visual cues of a fantastical past. She takes these dreams, not important, tracing them backward in time until she reaches a logical conclusion. Okay, that satisfies her. Basically, what is the meaning of this particular noun? Just try and understand. Sometimes it happens that obviously we want to live up to the past. Okay, past kaisa tha? So basically in this trad wife, she is doing the same thing. She wears a beautiful dress, not because she wants to look good, or maybe it's not just about looking good. No, she is actually serious about the past. Okay, and she actually wants to live up to the old social structure and those primitive gender roles. जो पहले gender roles हुआ करते थे वो उसको मतलब जीना चाहती है, and she is very serious about that thing. Clear है? और लॉजिकल कंक्लूजन का मतलब क्या हो गया? दैट इफ शी इज ड्रेसिंग अप समथिंग ओके फ्रॉम द पास्ट ड्रेसेस जो है पहले की जो ड्रेसेस होती थी वो उसको अभी पहन रही है एंड शी वांट्स टू लिव अप to that particular past. So basically she wants to arrive to a certain conclusion because she is very serious about that thing. और logical conclusion में क्या वो बोलना चाह रही है that she actually wants to live up to that primitive gender roles. Okay. And by doing so, she ends up delivering an unhappy reminder of just how much our lives consist of artifice and play. Just try and understand. And I'm also going to pick this sentence. The Treadwise college genius is to beat us at our own dress-up game. Now, basically in this 3-4 lines, author is trying to say that sometimes what happens that if we go to office, we wear professionally, okay? We go to any party, we wear according to that. So basically, we are not showing our real self, okay? We are dressing up just in order to portray our image. So basically now what is happening when the trad wife, she wears that traditional outfit and because she actually wanted to live up to that particular past primitive gender role, so inadvertently it happened, unintentionally it happened that she exposed, she revealed the artificiality of modern life. अब artificiality क्यों वो बोल रहे हैं यहाँ पर? Because हम भी जब dress up करते तो we wear according to the occasions, okay? Or if we are wearing according to the occasions, so in a way we are projecting a certain image, okay? हम Instagram पर photo वगैरह डालते हैं, क्यों डालते हैं? Because we want to display certain image of ourselves. So author is talking about this superficiality of the modern life. Because unknowingly it happened that she brought the artificial nature of modern life and the societal expectations, okay? So people are not liking that thing. तो यहाँ पर उसने यही बात बोला है that the trad wife outrages people because of a deliberately regressive ideas. Regressive means the past, old fashioned. Clear? By insisting that Italy cottage daydream should be real, right down to be the primitive gender role, she leaves others feeling hollow and cheated. So basically what happened, because this action of hers, it actually outraged the people and they are feeling highly disappointed because she actually brought the superficiality and the artificiality of the modern life by her act. The hullabaloo and headache she causes may be the price we pay for taking too many things at face value. So basically whatever controversy is taking around her, it is basically the result that we take the things as it appears to us. जैसा हमको दिखता है हम उसको वैसे ले लेते हैं, but we never question कि ऐसा क्यों हो, ऐसा क्यों नहीं है. We simply take the things at face value. Face value का मतलब है कि we take the things very superficially, okay? And this is something which the present people, modern people are not liking. Clear? The trad wife with her vintage dress and traditional roles highlights the superficiality of modern life and challenges current societal norms. So I think this sounds correct because comma is also there, so no grammatical mistake is there. And here trad wife highlights superficiality, okay, and challenges current societal norms. Yes, I think this sounds correct, but then let us verify the rest of the options as well. The trad-wise commitment to outdated gender roles and retro fashion. First thing, retro fashion. Retro fashion means past fashion. Are we actually talking about the past fashion? No. She was following past, but we are not talking about the past fashion. Okay. Critiques the superficiality of today's societal ideas. Beta dekho, it will sound correct to you. But the thing is, here one grammatical mistake is there. Trad-wise commitment. Are we talking about trad-wise commitment? Ki trad-wise commitment expose the artificial nature of modern life? No, it was not about the commitment. It was about the behavior, her action, her behavior. Okay, so commitment word is going to be wrong over here. क्योंकि commitment ने उसको वहाँ पे expose नहीं किया था, trad-wife ने खुद ने expose किया था, maybe उसके behavior और action ने, right? So this is going to be wrong. By promoting an idealized past, the trad wife exposes the artifice of contemporary values and mocks societal norms. Yeah, this is correct. She exposed the artifice. She exposed the artificiality, superficiality of contemporary values. But was she actually promoting the idealized past? No, she was not promoting. It was just she wanted to live up to that particular path, but she was not promoting that thing. Okay. The trad-wise vintage dress and adherence to traditional roles reveal the artificial nature of modern life and its superficial values. Now, beta, here you see, most of the students, they are going to end up picking this option as well. But there is one grammatical mistake, because when you read this sentence, no, it doesn't sound bad, okay? It sounds correct, but there is one grammatical mistake. So when you are saying the tradwives, vintage dress and adherence to traditional roles. So here the main subject is not tradwife. Here the main subject is vintage dress. So vintage dress exposed? No. Tradwife exposed. Okay. And for this reason, fourth is eliminated. So what is going to be the answer? Answer is going to be 1. So whenever you get such kind of paragraph, please do not give up. Otherwise बच्चे क्या करते हैं? They read such fanciful words, they read such hi-fi words और उनको लगता है oh we are not going to make it and they leave the things. But you just have to figure out this, just you just have to pick the keywords, okay, and just try to understand what the author is trying to say, because again I would say it is not at all necessary to read or understand each and every word given in the passage or in the paragraph. Okay, now the last question. Humans have managed to tweak the underlying biology. Tweak means change. The underlying biology of various plants and animals to produce high-tech crops and microbes. But, transition word. Regulating these entities is complicated as the framework of policies and procedures are outdated and not flexible enough to adapt to emerging technology. The question is whether regulation will ever be able to keep up with human innovation. First thing, to regulate living things which are apt to be unpredictable and unique, to capture all the potential risk when new biological entities are introduced or when they pass on variations of their genes. Now, up till here, we are talking about some changes that humans have brought. Okay, where in the biology of various plants and animals in order to produce high-tech crops. So basically here we are talking about some advanced crops. Okay, we are talking about some advanced entities. Clear? But then, okay, certain changes have been made, but regulating these entities here, altered entities, we mean to say, okay. So basically, these regulation of these altered entities is actually complicated. Okay, why? Because the policies or the rules or the procedures are outdated, old-fashioned, obsolete. So this is one of the challenges, okay, and not flexible enough to adapt to emerging technology. It means वो adapt नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, right? So this is the first challenge. Second challenge is the question is whether regulation will ever be able to keep up with human innovation. क्या वो उसको cope कर पाएगा human innovation का? This is another challenge. Third challenge is to regulate living things. Is this possible to regulate the living things which are unpredictable, which keeps changing, or which are one of its kind? This is third challenge. And is it possible to capture all the potential risks when new biological entities are introduced? तो जब भी new biological entities का introduction होता है, तो क्या हम सब potential risk को identify कर सकते हैं? So basically, these are the certain challenges. Okay, so on and all, I can say that the paragraph is actually negative, and author is being skeptical over here. Clear? So now let us check the options. A new framework of rules and procedures for regulating the most recent research emerging from biotechnology is urgently needed to keep up with this rapidly changing discipline. Now, in this, author is basically talking about certain suggestion, and he is basically urging that जितने भी changes हैं हमें उसको मतलब बहुत जल्दी करने की जरूरत है. Okay, it's not about some urgency has been shown in the paragraph. So because of this word urgently needed, I am going to eliminate this option. Okay, current regulation of biotechnology is outdated. Okay, but it is debatable. Again, debatable word is very, very important. Why the word debatable word is there? Because so many challenges are there, right? If we can create a framework, imaginative and flexible to cover all contingencies in this fast changing area. So I think this sentence, it encapsulates each and everything. I mean first part also and the second part also. Second part here I mean to say after the word but. So this is first part and this is another part. So here we are bringing some changes, but then certain challenges are there. Okay. The problem with formulating regulation for innovation in the scientific arena is that it is impossible to imagine the outcomes or risks related to the outcomes of all the research. Now, this sentence is something which is utterly negative, and the author here is saying it is impossible. So, when you say something impossible, it means you have become highly critical. When the author is saying that certain challenges are there, if certain challenges are there, it doesn't mean that it is being impossible. Yes, it might be difficult, but it cannot be impossible. So, again, for that reason, I am eliminating option 3. The mercurial nature of biological entities calls for scientists to shape the regulations governing emerging technology with regular calibration to handle variations in the field. Now here we have talked about only one aspect, that is mercurial nature, unpredictable nature. But in the paragraph, we are not talking about any calibration to handle variations in the field. So we are not talking about this thing. And again, both the things are not given because but is there, contrast is there. So both the things should be given. And that thing is given only in option 2. Therefore, the answer is 2. Clear? So I hope I won't say that the questions were easy. They were moderate, but they were not even difficult. So as I told you, do not try to read each and every word. Just try to figure out the keywords, indicators of the author, and try to pick the gist. Try to locate the gist of the paragraph. Okay. So I'm done with today's session. Thank you so much. If you have any doubt, you can always visit our site and give us a call on this number. If you are learning from our videos, please do like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you so much.